1 Corinthians 9 through 12. Once you find it, won't you say, I have it? I want you to read silently as I read aloud. For those of you that don't have a Bible, the word is afforded to you on your closest screen. Give rapt attention to it. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. But when I became an adult, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall fully know, even as I am fully known. You may be seated. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. I want to preach using as a subject, I've been photoshopped. I've been photoshopped. Friends, on last Saturday, I surprised my 3 youngest daughters and took them to spend the afternoon with Serena and Venus Williams. They had absolutely no idea what was happening. Just told them, get up, put on sweatsuits, put on tennis shoes, going to spend the day. In hindsight, I look back at what took place when we arrived at the tennis court. We're met by photographers who immediately clumped all of us together, Grace, Angel, Dora, Serena, Venus, and told us, get ready, we're getting ready to take pictures in an onslaught of flashes and bulbs. When the afternoon would have concluded, I got in the car and I'm scrolling through all of the pictures that were taken on that day. And please know that I'm now parenting preteens. So we got to have a committee meeting on what picture I'm allowed to post. One of them didn't like the lighting. The other one didn't like their smile. The other thought it wasn't her best side. One of them was arguing with the other one over who should have stood next to Serena and who should have been next to Venus. Then Grace, who is the leader of the motley crew of 3, said to me, the picture would have looked better if it was just all girls. She says to me, is there any way we can just Photoshop you out of the picture? It is just the girls and Serena and Venus. Angel then chimes in, that makes sense, because then it's just a sister's picture. The Williams sisters and the Bryant pictures. I'm holding out for a door, my last hope. Somebody has got to step in. Adora says, without even flinching for a moment, it does look better without you, Dad. Just post a picture just with us. And at that point, the conversation shifted from the Partridge Family to British Parliament. I'm indignant, I'm offended. I need to ask a group meeting, how are y'all cutting me out the picture when I'm the only way y'all got here? How you cutting me out the picture? They didn't know y'all, they knew me. How you cutting me out the picture when none of y'all Negroes got a driver's license? How you gonna get home and you cutting me out? I fought. Ain't no way y'all photoshopping me out of my own picture. And I said that to say to some of you that there are times in your life when you've had the same experience. You've been there for people. You open doors for them. You helped them get on their feet. You invested in them. And then when the picture is produced, they want to Photoshop you and act like you were not a part of the process. People try to cut you out the picture when they forget you are the film, the flash, and the frame. That in your absence, the picture cannot exist. It's almost virtually impossible for you to see a picture on television or on a movie screen without acknowledging a prominent Jewish influence. For the fact of the matter is that both industries, movies and television, are heavily under Hebraic direction and leadership. I don't know whether you realize it or not, but almost every outlet of movie and television is owned by the Jewish community. NBC, ESPN, Disney, MGM, CBS, Century Fox, Columbia Pictures, Lowe's Theater, all under Jewish ownership. It's in its infancy, even until now, that the Jewish community owns 80% of all movies. Did you hear what I just said? 80% of all movies and programming comes under the production of Jewish-owned houses. From the second film that was in fact nationally distributed, Gone with the Wind, to The Cosby Show, The Jeffersons, Different Strokes, Sanford and Son, all got black actors, but Jewish production. Stay with me. It is amazing to know, I'm getting ready to blow your mind, that only 1 in 700 characters on television, 1 in 700, I want you to have this, you'll make you the smartest person at work tomorrow. 1 in 700 characters on television are Jewish. Only 1 in 700. And they're the producers. They're the writers. They're the directors. They own the distribution. And only 1 in 700 are portrayed on TV. I'm not sure how you hold the camera, but can't see yourself. The Jewish community has held a deep-rooted fear that America wasn't ready to see Jews in the picture. Part of your problem is people aren't prepared to see you in another light. They can't picture you driving a foreign car unless you're doing something illegal, hence driving while black. They can't picture you happy without them. So every time it looks like you're happy, they try to get back in the picture. They can't picture you getting the position without compromise. And that's why they consistently question, how did you get it? They don't understand the picture. Long before Seinfeld, David Letterman, or Larry David, the biggest comedian of the 40s was a man by the name of Danny Kaye. The CEO of MGM saw his act in the Catskills of New York and without a screen test signed him. Signed him up for a movie and made he and his family move from upstate New York to Hollywood. And when he got to Hollywood, it's getting ready to blow your mind. The directors that were Jewish said he looked too Jewish. I need you to conceptualize this. I need you to have it. He is not auditioning, watch this, in front of Nordics. He is auditioning in front of other Jews. And other Jews said he looked too Jewish. This is the 1940s. I need you to stay with me. And so the Jewish directors and Jewish producers asked him to get plastic surgery. Other Jews, watch this, said his nose was too Jewish. Switch it up. Change it. Danny Kaye refused to do it. And they said, all right, we've got another idea. If you're not going to undergo plastic surgery, you're not going to get your nose fixed, dye your hair blonde. And he agreed to do that. Their thinking was, if you dye your hair blonde, people won't look at your nose. And they won't see you for your ethnicity. And they'll believe that you are a part of them. It is amazing that we are in 2017 and you got other black people who don't like your blackness. And they have an issue with you being authentic to yourself and have a problem when it is that you embrace your own lineage, your own heritage, and your own genealogy. The Bible Belt was unnerved. Not just that they elected a black president, but that we had a dark-skinned first lady. The internet exploded when Gabby Douglas was winning gold medals but wouldn't use a straightening comb. The fashion industry was in an uproar when recently Miss Jamaica won second place in the Miss World contest and had the nerve to wear an afro. Gabby was body slammed because of her size didn't fit Eurocentric ideals that equates to stardom. Leslie on Saturday Night Live as a first black woman cast member has repeatedly been bullied by adults who can't stand that she actually looks African. Dallas traffic reporter had her body, in fact, the center of objectification from co-workers that went on Facebook who said her body type does not fit 6 o'clock news. Whether they like it or not, we are made and shaped in the image and in the likeness of one God. If you're going to take me, you're going to have to take my full lips. If you want me, they come with curvy hips. If you're going to deal with me, it comes with crinkly hair. If you're going to take me, you're going to have to deal with it because it's man that looks at the outer appearance. It's God that looks at the heart. And I am not here to please man. I am here to celebrate God. And if in fact you cannot take my standard of beauty, then it is not my issue, it is your insecurity. I did baptism this morning while it is that you were just sleeping. I did baptism this morning and I'm blown away. I'm baptizing teenagers, 12, 13, 14 years old this morning. And all the boys that I baptized this morning got blonde hair. And all the girls got natural hair. What happens if I'm scared as the priest of the house that the male's dye will drip? But the girls have embraced their own identity. Where are we? That in church I got to be self-conscious about how I'm made. You so insecure you don't even know what I'm praying about and you throwing a whole blanket on me. If you focus on my walk with God, you ain't focused on my skirt. You don't know what I just ran out of. If I cannot be me in church, where can I be me? I'm tired of having to adjust because of your own feelings of inadequacy. Because of your own insecurity. When they announced who Jesus was prophetically, they didn't say Jesus is going to have waves, red bottom shoes, Jordans, and a Gucci belt. Said he had hair like lamb's wool, feet of bronze. Can you be anointed with nothing extra? With the way that you were created. Can you celebrate God when you look in the mirror? Are you always identifying what's wrong? You can never celebrate what's right. Have you gotten to the place that before you leave out of the house in the morning and you look in the mirror and say to yourself, I look like God? Do you know how powerful that is, that I look like God? And anybody who doesn't like how I look doesn't like who God is, because I was made in his image and in his likeness. Entrepreneur magazine swears that there is power in visualization. Visualization sends transmissions to the brain that feels like a real life occurrence. Greatest boxing champion in the world is Muhammad Ali. Is known for saying he envisioned himself as a champion before he ever got a belt. Muhammad Ali gave a lecture at Harvard University after it is that he refused to go to Vietnam. And the proctor at Harvard University introduced him as the world champion. Muhammad Ali had already had his belt stripped. And the president of Harvard University got behind the proctor and said, you made a mistake. He is not the world champion. He's the former champion. His belt is stripped. He ain't no champion. And Muhammad Ali got behind the president of Harvard University and said, I'm a champion with no belt. Because when I am a champion, I don't need other people to validate the worth of who it is that I am. And I feel like I'm preaching to some people at 11:30 this morning. Says, I'm a champion with no degree. I'm a champion with no Mercedes. I'm a champion with no mansion. I'm a champion not because of what you call me, but because of the fights that I've endured, because of the blows that I've taken. And in spite of all of that, I'm still standing. I am a champion because of how I see myself. It is amazing, ladies and gentlemen, that Michael Jordan envisioned himself being a champion before he ever took a shot. I don't know whether you know it or not, but Michael Jordan was cut from the JV basketball team twice. And his coach said that he didn't have what it takes in order to be a champion. But he kept playing. And the question I've got to ask you is, where would he have been if he listened to somebody in authority? He had to listen to his inner voice and say, even if you don't see me as great, I see myself as great. And I feel like I'm talking to some people that all your life folk have betted against you, and that's why they keep losing, is they never expected you to make it this far. But nobody said the road was going to be easy. I don't believe he's brought me this far. Leave me now. Jim Carrey, one of the greatest comedians to ever be on the silver screen, his father told him that he wasn't going to make it. His own biological father said he wasn't funny. Jim Carrey then pulled and packed up his stuff and moved to California without his family blessing. An amazing thing that he did while he's a struggling comedian and being a waiter during the day and working in comedy clubs at night, he wrote his father $1 million check, sent it back to his father and said, I'm going to tell you when to cash it. But I need you to hold on to it, because a day is coming where God is going to honor my gift even when you didn't believe in it. I'm talking to 80 of you who are in this room. God says, I don't care what your family thinks about you. When your mother and your father forsake you, that's when I step in to lift you up. The reason why you've been under so much attack is you different than everybody else in your family. But I need you to tell all of them, get ready for a check, because God is getting ready to perform a a miracle right in your eyes. I know you didn't think I was going to make it, but God made me a promise. I see myself. To this day, Jim Carrey is the highest paid comedian, having not done a movie in 4 years. God help me, I want you to know your value. Watch this, even when you're not working. Some of y'all are getting ready to miss this. You don't need to understand your job does not define you. It is their privilege to have somebody as brilliant and gifted as you are. If you get fired, then that ain't where you were supposed to be. God got something else in mind and in store for you. You got to start picturing yourself. Hallelujah. Thank you, Holy God. Hallelujah. I said you got to start picturing yourself. Hallelujah. I don't need you to turn to your neighbor. I ain't talking to them. I'm talking to you. Hallelujah. I said picture yourself as a captain of industry. Picture yourself as being a supervisor. Picture yourself, y'all ain't saying nothing, as being debt free. Picture yourself as a homeowner and not a renter. Picture your name on the side of buildings. Picture your children going to the best schools that Maryland has to offer. Picture yourself flying in to do consultation and flying back out before the sun goes down. Picture yourself taking your mama off of her job and telling her, I don't want to see you labor like this after all you did for our family. Picture yourself writing a check for your nieces and nephews' tuition because you got trifling siblings who don't even believe that their children can get to the next level. Picture yourself never asking nobody for nothing, but God giving you the desire of your heart. Picture yourself buying a house with no money down, but telling the realtor, I'm paying for it cash. Picture yourself that when you buy the car, you won't need a co-signer, but you're getting it because that's what you want. Picture yourself. Picture yourself only working 7 to 9 months a year. God, I just said something. I ain't talking about no 3 day. I need you to have 3 months off. Your expertise is so valuable. I need you down south for the winter. I don't know how many of y'all got that kind of faith, but those of you that picture yourself in a better place in 2018 than you were for 2017, I need you to give God glory for the picture you just had of yourself. Would you praise him for it? Nothing is going to disrupt your picture. Hallelujah. I feel God in this room. I said nothing is going to disrupt your picture. Hallelujah. This is a good time for me to say it to you. Nothing is going to smear the picture that you got in your mind. The Lord made a promise to Joseph that you are going to be the ruler of this region. Your family is going to end up working for you. And before Joseph knew it, he's in the bottom of a pit. Do you know why Joseph didn't commit suicide? It's because while he was in the pit, he told himself, this ain't in the picture. This ain't what God showed me. He gets out of that pit and is falsely accused. He goes to jail for something he never did. But while he's in that jail, do you know why he didn't become an alcoholic? Is while he's looking in the jail, he said, this ain't in the picture of what God promised me. He gets out of jail and ends up being a waiter right in the White House. But he said to himself, this ain't what God promised me. And then finally somebody recognized the gift in his life and he become the Secretary of Agriculture. God told me to tell 500 200 of you. This been one of the roughest years of your life, but this ain't the final picture. God is getting ready to show you something that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. I know. Hallelujah. I got spectators in the room. Y'all forgive us. I only need you to worship if you see something. Come on, I can't hear nobody. I said only bless him if you see something. And some of you are only shouting over tangible stuff. I need you to worship God. Why, Pastor? Like I see my family members in perfect health. God, I can't hear nobody. I see a picture of my brother not in jail, of my sister not in the street, of my grandmother not in the hospital. I got a different picture. Hallelujah. I once was young, now I'm getting older. Be seated, please. Hallelujah. I got the picture. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I got the picture. Do y'all see it? I'm preaching about you. Do you see it? Do you see it for yourself? I can't hear nobody. Trouble can't last always. Do you see it? You know, I'm in a generation now that you all take pictures right on your phone. Right from your phone. You posting it right to Facebook. Straight to Instagram. And so the problem with this generation is that we want pictures with no process. I'm figure skating between two generations as a part of hip-hop culture, and the millennial generation is that my generation, we didn't grow up with iPhones. We didn't have Samsung, didn't have Galaxy. Just getting ready to separate the whole congregation because some of y'all don't even know what I'm talking about. It's going to sound like I'm in the Smithsonian Museum. When I was growing up, we had something called Photomat. I know y'all don't even know what I'm talking about. It'd be right in the middle of the parking lot of the mall. They didn't even have a kiosk in the mall. And here's what's crazy, y'all, is that you drove up the Photomat. Stay with me. I know this is relic. I know it's old time. But say what was crazy is you go in the Photomat and you had rolls of film. You had rolls of film. And here's what's crazy, y'all, is that you had to put your film in an envelope. When you put the film in the envelope, you had to put your name on the envelope. And here's what's crazy is that you had to identify what wasn't even developed yet. But I claim that it's mine even before I see it. I'm talking to somebody in this room. There's some stuff you've been working on. It ain't finished yet, but God said put your name on it. Hallelujah. You got to believe by faith. Even if I don't have it yet, I claim that it's going to be mine. We dropped it off at Photomat, put it in the envelope, put your name on it. And here's what's crazy, y'all, is Photomat wasn't even as big as this pulpit. It's probably the size of where the musicians were. And we couldn't even see what was happening in the development process. But I'm going to tell you what happened. In order for the picture to be developed, you dropped it off, watch this, in a small mail slip, put it in an envelope with your rolls of film in it, and then you drove off and they told you come back for it. I got to tell you this is what's happening while it is that you can't see the picture. Is the only way the picture could be developed. Stay with me. The only way it could be developed, it has to come in a dark room. See, some of you will never be developed because you ain't been through a dark season. You got to go through a dark season of your life where you're not sure what's happening. You're not sure what's taking place, but you got to say, in the words of our ancestors, there's a bright side somewhere. And what it is that the developer would do, y'all, is that the developer would take the film, watch this, make sure the room was dark, and then throw the film in something that's gonna blow your mind. What they threw it in is called solution. Hallelujah. What do you do when you can't see what God is working on? How do you move forward when it looks like there's no way of escape? And God told told me to tell 50 of you, while you're in a dark season, he's working on a solution. I can't hear nobody in here. Well, how does the producer work and cultivate the film if the room is dark and it's thrown in solution? There's only one piece of light in the room, and y'all ain't gonna believe me, but the light is red because it symbolizes the blood. What can wipe away my sin? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. What can make me whole again? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. You would go back to Photomat and you'd go back in an hour, and they said, because of your patience, because of how long you waited, because of the process, we gonna bless you with double exposure. In other words, you getting ready to get twice of what you paid for. Is there anybody here that believes this is my season to get double for my trouble? I need you to high five your neighbor and tell them double is coming. You've been in this place long enough and the going's been kind of tough, but the struggle is almost over. It's almost over for you. And the thing I loved about Photoshop, about Photomat, is that when you went, you open up the envelope, you inspected the pictures, and you only take the pictures that you like. If you don't like the picture, leave it with the developer. That's why I'm here today. There's some stuff you've been looking at. God said don't take it into the new year, but leave it with Jesus. You don't like your income, leave it with the master. You don't like where you live, leave it with the Savior. You don't like what you drive, leave it with our God. But when I come back by next year this time, everything is gonna look better. Everything is gonna get brighter. Give somebody a high five and tell them, get the picture. The one thing that I love about Photoshop is that in Photoshop you can take people out of the picture, but in Photoshop you can add people to the picture. And I stopped by this morning to tell 50 of you, you just been added into the picture of those of you that can say, I'm more than a conqueror. Greater is he that is in me than he. Be seated for the last time, please. I'm in the picture of the wealthiest people that ever lived in Baltimore. I'm in the picture. The apostle in his epistle to the Corinth said, what you've been dealing with in 1 Corinthians 13, he says in verse number 9, what you've been dealing with is you have been living through a half prophecy. You have only seen part of what God has promised you. Hallelujah. But 2018, you're getting ready to see all of it. Hallelujah. I don't want just a piece of the promise. I want everything he promised me. I'm talking to the wrong church. Is there anybody here that believes there's a prophecy over your life? And I need God to expose what he's promised me. When I was a child, I thought as a child. I understood as a child. But now that I'm mature, I look at the picture differently. And the picture that I now have in maturity is success is not how much money I have in the bank. The picture that I now have in my mind is what validates my worth is not the square footage of my home. What says that I've accomplished is not driving a German car. I've put all of that aside. I now look in the mirror clearly, and I see that the picture of who I am is that I'm finally at peace. I know we don't shout about that, but there ought to be something that ushers us to contentment. God, I want to be at a place and a station in my life where I'm actually at peace. I don't want to have to be chasing the paper my whole life. I don't want to always feel inadequate and insufficient. God, give me enough to be at peace. God is saying, I finally get the picture. It's finally available to you. And when it is that you get that picture, watch what he says. I'm still in Corinthians. It's only at that moment that you're able to see God face to face. You will not be able to see him as long as you don't like that you look like him. But when I'm able to look in the mirror and I see God in it, then I'm now prepared to walk into my destiny. I'm going to do this if I can, please. There's so many of you, hallelujah, who need God's divine intervention. And it's not off of drugs. It's not off of alcohol. I need you to hear me. It's not even from binge eating. I want to say this to you, and I'm talking to adults now. When I was growing up, this conversation, this language we'd reserve for people who are trapped in the abyss of puberty. You know how many adults have low self-esteem? How many adults reject their own body type? How many adults reject their own self-image? How are you going to be a success when you don't love you? I want God to help you to see yourself different. Because you can't go into this year, to this new year, with a rejection of self. Surgery's not going to make you beautiful when you're ugly on the inside. You're trying to get all different piercings so people will focus on that and not see your face. What's the point of you changing your hair if you won't ever change your mind? Shakespeare, the runaway theologian, said, "To thine own self be true." And I want you, watch this. I know you love God. You wouldn't be here. But I want you, what the church never talks about, I want you to be able to fall in love with you. Because if you don't know how to love you, nobody else will. My time is quickly coming to an end, but I feel a burden to reach you on this afternoon. Those of you who are in this room, you don't consider yourself beautiful. You reject what you look like. You don't think that you measure up, you add up. I want you to come meet me at this altar. I want to pray for you, please. No judgment. I just want to pray for you because I want God to clear out the mirror. Come on, meet me, please. Come on, meet me. There's still some others of you that I need you to come quickly. I was in a conversation on yesterday. How can you be competent in yourself living in an Instagram era? Everybody got shapes, curves. Everybody in shape. Everybody Gucci down. Everybody on trips. And you watching that all day, looking at it all day, going through it all day, all day. And while you keep doing this, your self-image is doing this. It's doing this. I I want you to meet me here, please. I want you to meet me right where it is that you are. Hallelujah. There ain't enough bundles in the world for you to get your brain back. Ain't enough contact lenses in the world that'll change your perspective. I need you to meet me. Still 3 more of you I'm waiting on. I don't care who's sitting around you, who's next to you. I need you to come, please. Go out to dinner on Friday with my daughters. And we're in a restaurant. My 13-year-old says, I just want a salad. Her sister's killing the whole game. They eating pizza and ice cream. I said, oh, you eating healthy now? My 13-year-old said, no, I'm on a diet. Huh? What you mean? Says, I'm on a diet. I'm one of the biggest ones in my class. And I need to lose weight. 13 is already enveloped in body image. I don't know where you are. I need you to come meet me here, please. And I had to grab my daughter by both shoulders and look her in the eye as her father who created her. You're beautiful. You look great the way that you are. Come on, me. Don't play me. I need you at this altar, please. I'm waiting on one more of you. I don't know where it is that you are. You don't even know with every step you take, the weight is going to come off of you. The burden is going to come off of you. You can't go into a new year feeling like this. I need you to go into the new year saying, I accept God's plan for my life. Y'all really ain't gonna say nothing. How dare you sit there and act like you ain't never had a moment where you had to reevaluate who it is that you are. I'm grateful for you. Stretch your right hands of faith. They're still coming. There's room. There's time. They're still coming. Are y'all gonna clap for them? I bet if you give God glory, some more will come. I just believe that if you start giving God glory, somebody around you will feel encouraged, will be inspired, will be empowered. If I can't be honest here, where can I be honest? Come on, keep clapping your hands. They're still coming. We make excuses for how we're built, for what we look like. When I was growing up, they don't even have it no more. When I was growing up, they used to have a size section for boys, husky. Y'all remember that? Yeah. They didn't got away with that. Now you got 13-year-olds in the big and tall section. It's hard, watch this, for you to be, I'm talking to the parents now, you know how hard it is to dress a 12-year-old? Ain't no ribbons, ain't no barrettes. You got 13-year-olds who want to be Instagram models. You 4 feet tall. But what is my expectation of my perspective of where I see myself? I want you, with all of you, would you take each other by the hand, please? I want to pray for you. Hallelujah. God, I pray for the most beautiful people in this church who are at this altar. I thank you, dear Lord, that over this week when they look in the mirror, they'll see themselves differently. God, please block them from settling. Stop them from believing the report of jealous naysayers. God, I pray you silence the voice in their own mind that makes them feel like they are not enough. God, I give you glory. The only thing I ask you give them for Christmas is the love of self. God, I believe that you'll do it. I believe that you will. Empowerment, I need y'all to help me, please. This is my third service for the day. I'm now going to make y'all do some of my work. I can't do nothing else. Y'all got to help your pastor. When these beautiful ladies go back to their seat, I want you to keep interrupting them, and I want you to just start hugging them and just tell them, do you know how beautiful you are? You are gorgeous. You are stunning. You are amazing. Would you do that for me, please? Those of you who are at the altar, you can go back to your seats. Empowerment, come on, go to work for me. Come on, you're beautiful. You're beautiful. Come on, let's operate in the spirit of encouragement. You are absolutely gorgeous. You are stunning. You are amazing. You are drop dead.